Yo, how's it going, you guys? So before I got started for the day, I've been meaning to put this video out for a while. So I wanted to finish putting it together and showcase where I've taken this build so far. For those of you who have not seen my previous video, my league start of this league was a Bane Occultist. And we're kind of at the point where I'm wanting to swap to another character. So I figured I'd make a full build guide video, show you guys what I've been working with, and go from there. So again, this is the full build guide for my Bane Occultist that I used as my starter for 3.12 Heist League. Right now we're sitting at level 88. The leveling has been incredibly smooth. It is a very, very easy skill to level. It scales very well. Its utility is really good, especially using Void Sphere. So we'll go over all that in a second, but first I want to show you guys a little map action so you can kind of see what it looks like. At this point, we are only on a 5-link. You don't even really need to get to a 6-link. You can map in reds on a 4-link. It's just a little bit harder with bosses and stuff like that. So before we get into the full guide, here is a little map gameplay just so you guys can see kind of how it does even in a T13 map. As you can see, it's pretty smooth, nothing really crazy. Ooh, and we got Al Hazim in here as well. So this will get a little rippy because this is actually a crit map. So we'll see how this goes. Because Al Hazim with crit. Ooh, yeah, chunky. So we are pretty survivable. We're sitting at about 5,400 life right now. That, of course, can go up with better gear. The gear I'm using right now is extreme budget. There is not a lot of shenanigans going on here. It's relatively simple. There's not a lot to it, and it clears very well. Now, for Legion encounters and stuff like this, an Essence Drain Contagion would literally clear this entire thing at once. But it also doesn't quite have the same playstyle, because for Essence Drain Contagion, which is also another very, very good starter, it is a 2-button press to do damage kind of a build, and Bane is 1. So you press 1 button and Bane does damage. In order for Contagion and Essence Drain to get its full damage potential, you have to press buttons twice, which is something small, but when you're trying to run through maps and you have to press buttons twice to even like do your real damage, it can get a little annoying. So there you go, there's a Legion clear, real smooth, not very dangerous, even though we are on a crit multi map with poison and increased damage, etc, etc. So I'm just gonna go ahead and open this, and then I'm gonna rush to the oh, let's go. Okay, so also boosts your total quant and rarity by at least 10,000% when you're making a video, at least. So, so anyway, we're gonna rush over to the boss, and we're going to snag that so you guys can see a little bit of the boss damage. Now, this is not exactly the best map to showcase a boss because this guy is extremely rippy. He's got that, which is a very high damage single target, which can be very hard to see. But in the amount of time it took him to deal that much damage, we got him down almost a quarter life with just walking up there before we even had full stacks of Wither on him. So now that I know where he is, this will be significantly easier, and I can actually stay back at a safe distance. And we just kind of do damage. And also, when you stay back away from this guy, you can also, yeah, avoid his stupid death, black death that he shoots out everywhere, which is very ridiculous. So there you go, boss is dead. Relatively safe, but especially on a crit map, that is going to happen. Doesn't matter how much life you have, if you get crit on that boss, it's going to kill you. So there you go, guys. There is the map showcase. So let's go ahead and jump in, and I'll go over the tree real quick so you guys can kind of see what we're working with. Again, we are an occultist. So your priorities as far as ascending, you want to come down and grab Profane Bloom first. This is a really big deal because Bane is a great clear skill. But usually when you're in packs of stuff, the pops really help speed up your clear, especially early when you're leveling. And then you can come up through Malediction. That way you can have a Despair linked to your Bane, or even as an aura with a Blasphemy. And then you can have another curse being applied either on hit or however else you want to apply your curses. You can do an on-hit Void Sphere setup if you would like. There's a bunch of options. But your main curses are going to be Despair and Temp Chains. Temp Chains because it's going to make your dot expire slower, so you don't have to cast it as much times. So you want to go through Profane Bloom, Malediction, Void Beacon, because that -20 to chaos resistance and lesser life regen is very good for a dot build. Because if you do run up to a rare or a boss that has a lot of life regen, or you're fighting a metamorph that just has stupid regen, killing it as a dot character is very difficult and can be super annoying, and the longer the fight goes on, the more rippy it gets, kind of a thing. So this is a really good one to take. And then for your Uber Lab, you want to take Withering Presence, because this is just a great skill in general. Chaos damage over time multiplier is extremely valuable because Bane is a dot skill. Plus 60 chaos resist is just amazing for survivability, and free withered means that your wither stacks stack up passively as you're running around on stuff. So it helps with your clear speed, it helps with your boss damage, it also helps you stack wither faster when you are fighting a boss. So it's a very, very good node, and 60 chaos res is nothing to sneeze at. So when you start off, your priorities as far as scaling Bane is going to be spell damage, chaos damage over time multiplier, and chaos damage. You can grab some AoE and stuff like that, but those are the ones that are really going to scale your damage over time for Bane specifically. So we are life-based. You can do a low-life version of this by going up and going Energy Shield, taking Pain Attunement, and running a Shavs. You don't really need to do that, but if you really felt like, man, I really want to push Bane, you can. So budget version, though, is the life version, which is what this is because this was a starter character. So coming up, we got all the spell damage, came over here, grabbed some life, and then we went directly left, coming down over here and up to the chaos wheels. So from here, we came over, grabbed this life, came up, grabbed the chaos wheel through corruption, because these are just all really good nodes. Withered, chaos damage, area of hex skills. So this is where the new changes in 3.12 come on, because Bane is no longer, it has lost the curse tag. Now, something to keep in mind, the curse tag is not gone. It is still in the game. So as you can see, if we hover over Despair, it's curse, comma, hex. So why this is important is because traditionally in a Bane build, you had your Bane skill, which had the curse tag, and then in your glove slot, you would run a Vixen's Entrapment and link all your other curses in there. So when you would cast Bane, which was a curse skill, it would cast like 5 curses on stuff, and stacking up number of curses was really valuable. That does not work anymore. If you're running Bane, do not buy Vixen's Entrapment unless you're doing some kind of Hex Blast and casting a curse manually, because that's the only way Vixen's Entrapment gloves work anymore. So, disclaimer. So, with that, Bane still benefits from any chaos, any kind of spell, any kind of AoE, etc. So, when we're coming up through here, increased area of effect of hex skills, this makes our Bane significantly larger. So, it's kind of hard to see in my hideout, but the AoE covers most of the screen with just a press. So if I press it on myself, I got a solid radius around me, which is enough to clear entire rooms or entire screens of stuff, usually in 1 to 2 casts, which is what you want. So I came over here, grabbed the life. We did pick up a jewel socket. Now, obviously, these elemental damage nodes do absolutely nothing for you. I am aware of that, but we get 1 more travel point, and then we waste 2 nodes that don't really do anything for us either. So this is just a way to save a travel point. You can rearrange this tree if you would like. But for the large clusters, you want a chaos-based one. This one has chaos res, and then Wicked Pale on it. Pretty decent. Managed to roll that myself. For medium clusters, you want the percent to chaos damage over time multiplier with as many passives as possible. Now, the reason you want as many passives as possible is because each node gives you chaos damage over time multiplier, which is very, very, very hard to find anywhere else on the tree. So that is why we are doing it with that. Now, this doesn't have a keystone, but when I rolled it, I got chaos resistance, flat life, and increased damage. So every single node gives me increased damage, chaos damage over time multiplier, some flat life, and chaos res, which is pretty good. I mean, I kind of didn't want to roll over it because that's pretty solid. And then for your small passives, you just want life with as much, regen. Surging Vitality is amazing for survivability. It really does kick in, and you can see when it does kick in, your life just fills right back up. As you can see, even a T13 map that's pretty rippy. If we're not getting absolutely one-shot by random shit, which, I mean, this is Path of Exile in 2020, welcome to the party. That's never going away. But if you're not randomly getting one-shot by crazy on death effects, regen, especially with the changes to life regen scaling and stuff like that they did in this patch, is very, very good, worth the investment. We then came down here and just grabbed this life wheel. This is very efficient. Also gives you some chaos res, which again helps with survivability, because most of the crap that is really, really rippy, and you see all these streamers and all these content creators playing hardcore dying to stuff, a lot of it's chaos related. You got Vipers, you're fighting Cyrus, and his clouds are just obliterating you, and you're just getting one shot. That's chaos damage. So chaos resistance is very, very good. Back in the day, you didn't usually have to worry about it. It was like, oh, well, what are your elemental resistances? And it's like, oh, they're maxed. And it's like, cool, nothing else fucking matters. That's not the case anymore. So chaos resistance is very good, highly worth the investment, even though it's a couple travel points. You can take through sovereignty if you want a little bit less reservation. You want to squeeze in another curse on an aura or something like that, but not really necessary. I have plenty of mana to cast Bane and my totems and Void Sphere and all that kind of stuff, so not super necessary. Came down this way again for just more life, some damage, a little more regen, life regen damage. Came down to the Scion life wheel. This is a pretty big deal. The reason we're not taking all these hex nodes, because it doesn't really work well with Bane. Doom is irrelevant if you're playing Bane. It does not stack Doom or anything that you can use. You can have Bane and then a Hex Blast set up if you really want, but most of the time everything's going to die, and it's just going to clear off your despair. And if you're fighting a boss, the despair gives minus to chaos res, which is very, very good. So it's not really super worth it. Hex Blast itself is undertuned. I do hope that they patch it and kind of up it soon. The whole Doom mechanic, I love the idea of just being able to cast a curse, use an Impending Doom support, have stuff blow up, Hex Blast. But again, it's a 2 cast, right? You cast the curse, Doom builds up, you blow it up. Right? It's the same kind of play style as Mines. So if you don't really like playing Mines, you probably won't really like playing Hex Blast. Or if you don't like playing stuff where you have to press a bunch of buttons to stack up to do the most damage, you're really going to like it that much. So that's, again, why we didn't come over here and get increased max Doom, increased effect of your curses. It's not really worth the travel. We took this just because the area of effect and skill effect duration is useful to us. So these aren't entirely worth it. You could actually probably spec out of these and just go for some more area of effect to get the same effect, but you don't really need to, because the build kind of takes care of itself. For jewels, you want life and any combination of either spell damage, area damage, chaos damage over time multiplier, right? These jewels are kind of meh. We don't even have chaos damage over time multiplier. Again, this is a budget guide. I'm not the kind of person who's going to be like, hey guys, look at this 5,000 Exalt build that can do something that you could do for 50 chaos. It's not my thing. Sorry, guys. So most of the stuff you'll see on my channel is cheap. Because I also have 2 kids, and I have a life, and I have a full-time job, and this shit is just for funsies. So, came over here, grabbed some life. More damage over time, life regen. This is Growth and Decay is a very, very good node, because you get the damage over time, you get the damage over time multiplier, which is the exact same thing as chaos damage over time multiplier. So that's very good, and again, it gives you more life regen. So we regen quite a bit of life every second. Let's see, what's it at? So we're at almost 400 without even using a stone golem. So we could technically get like 500 life regen a second. And then every 5 seconds, we get 10% of our life on top of that. So you're regenning pretty quick. So it's really, really nice. Atrophy is a must-have. It's just a strong node. All the chaos damage over time. If you can get chaos damage and chaos damage over time multiplier for Bane on the same thing, do it. All right. So that's pretty much the tree right there, guys. As far as gear, we are still just using a Cane of Unraveling. This is a chaos. Go buy one. They're cheap. They're pretty good. And it gives you plus gem levels. So can you get a wand and a shield that give you the +2 with a bunch of other resistances and spell damage and stuff? Yeah, if you want to spend a couple X. Or you can pick this bad boy up for a chaos. It's a chaos. I mean, get it. It's cheap. Helmet, just life resistances. That's it. Life resistances, life resistances, life resistances, life resistances, and life regeneration. Life resistances, move speed, There's a trend here. I'm sure you're noticing. So life resistances, make sure you're capped, and life and resistances. We are using a Carcass Jack. This was pretty expensive when I bought it at the beginning of the league. I think I got this one for like 30C. Rolls on it aren't super important as long as the life is like 65 and the chaos and the area damage is over 45. So increased area of effect, we're getting so much already that it's not really a huge deal. So don't feel bad if like it has bad rolls. Like, it's a budget build, man. This is what you get. So as far as the skills that we have linked, we are running a few things. Bane is our main skill. We are running an Essence Drain just for a little bit extra bossy boss damage because these do stack. Dots stack from different sources. We are running a Wither Totem. So for our Wither Totem, we're running Wither. And what all that does is increase chaos damage taken up to 15 times. So whatever 6 times 15 is, it's damage. Get it. It's good. So you have Wither. You have Spell Totem Support, so you can have a sweet little totem up there doing all the work for you. Faster casting to make that little totem cast more stuff, and more totems to cast more stuff more fast. So, multiple totem support, faster casting, Spell Totem Support, and Wither. That is our totem setup. In our helmet, this is where we're running our Essence Drain. So we have Essence Drain linked to Controlled Destruction because crit doesn't matter on a dot build. Don't build crit on a dot build. Don't do it. It's bad. Efficacy support, this is a huge one. This is going to be, regardless of what chaos damage over time skill you run, efficacy is going to be one of your links because it is very good. Lots of more spell damage, and the increased skill effect duration makes it last longer, which is Mo Deeps for less mana cast. And then Void Manipulation. In our chest, this is where we have our Bane. So we have Bane linked to Swift Affliction, Efficacy, Despair, because I don't want to cast multiple stuff and I don't want to reserve more mana, and Void Manipulation. Now, an important thing to note for Bane. In Bane, it says you do 48% more damage per curse applied. That does not reflect anywhere. And applying a curse, you can test it yourself. Go into a map, take Despair out, put it on a Blasphemy, and cast Despair on something. And then put it back in, do the same thing on the same map, it will do no more damage. And that is reflected in POB. It is reflected on PoE Ninja. For everybody playing Bane, nobody runs multiple curse setups in their Bane because it doesn't actually give you the more damage. The way that it reads, it should 48% more damage per curse applied. Doesn't work. So to showcase, here we go. We have our cast damage per second, which is at 35,804.8. We will take Despair out, and we'll just drop in doesn't move, A, number 1. And then we will drop it in, and we get our second tag here, and it goes up to 51,149.6. So, if you want more damage, right, usually you only run Despair in here because it's quality of life. It applies the curse when you cast Bane and lets the dot do its thing. And that also allows you to only have to run one curse on your Blasphemy, which is usually Temp Chains or Enfeeble or some sort of survivability curse. And then Malevolence. So Malevolence you want to run because it's 20% more damage over time. It's a more damage over time multiplier, which is huge, right? You want that for Bane. You want to run malevolence. So just a little disclaimer there about curses. So don't be like, Bane, temp chains, despair, Ellie weakness, or whatever else. Just don't do that. You're cutting your damage for nothing. So Bane, swift affliction, efficacy, despair, and void manipulation. And your 6th link would be controlled destruction because it's very good and it ups your damage big time. In our boots, I have Frostblink. This is where we have our Malevolence, Blasphemy, and Temp Chains. So there's that. We already went over the gloves. And then just leveling all sorts of other random shenanigans in here. Because if you have open slots, you want to level things. Void Sphere is another really, really important thing that I want to touch on. Because this is a very useful skill, especially in the heist content. Because what it does is it casts this big black hole essentially, and that pulsing literally sucks stuff into it, and it works as a CC. So if you're getting body blocked, or you're not able to frost blink or dash or move skill of choice, insert here, through stuff, that's a big deal, and it helps you quite a bit in surviving. And it also groups stuff up really nice, so you can cast Bane on everything and have everything explode in one glorious pop. So highly recommend a Void Sphere. You don't need to link it to anything. If you want it to do a little more deeps, you can link it to stuff. The damage is respectable, but you don't have to. So yeah, use it. It's good. It's real good. And then just leveling random stuff in the offhand. Get a Bleed Flask. For the love of God, get a Bleed Flask. You need it. Don't die to dumb stuff. Get a Bleed Flask. Same thing with the Freeze Flask. As awesome as the chest open freezing rips are, just get a Freeze Flask. Just get one. It's good. And then for your Quicksilver, you definitely want a move speed flask. You can craft these yourself. They're super, super easy to craft. Just alt spam them until you get move speed, and then just go from there. It's really good. Makes you way faster. So this is me moving around without it. This is me moving around with it. And it lasts just as long as any other Quicksilver. And then without it, it's like, oh yeah, that's a little faster. Okay, not bad. And then you hit the booster. It's fast. Get a move speed flask. Move speed on a move speed flask is really good. And then just a mana flask, just in case, right? Allows you to run mana regen. You don't really want to run, you don't really have to run a Witch's Brew or Witchfire Brew, whatever the hell it is, the dot flask, that one. Because it applies a curse that you don't really benefit from because you're already casting it from your Bane. So that's the setup, guys. Them's the skills, that's the life, and that's the character. Let me know if you have any questions. I wanted Hex Blast to be a thing. I wanted the Doom to be a thing. But unless you're doing some kind of like Hex Blast, crit, whatever, that is a 2-button pressed, Essence Drain is better for less investment. Can you make it work? Sure, but not really recommended in its current state. I really do hope they patch it because the Doom concept and Hex Blast and the whole thing is super dope. I wanted it to be a thing so bad, but it wasn't. So anyway, guys, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Please check out all the other content. We have links to Twitter and Discord and Twitch and all that jazz. We're doing stuff. We're having fun, and I would love for you guys to be a part of that. So thanks for being here, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. We're going to do something trickster. I don't know. It's what I'm leveling. We'll figure it out. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.